So, welcome to the podcast today. And today I have with me a friend, Sanj Chandi from Treat Street. Sanj runs Treat Street, which is an amazing, what should we say, confectionery, sweets, dessert parlor.
Bar. Yeah.
And it's a lovely restaurant, which is in Milton Keynes. So, Sanj, tell me a little bit about how you actually got started.
I mean, it's been quite a long journey from the start to now. So for me, I left school feeling a bit lost on what I wanted to do, and kind of not knowing what path I wanted to take. Kind of friends and cousins all going to uni, and I left at that stage of being in the below average bracket in comparison to everyone else around me. Kind of seeing everyone kind of graduate, and I definitely had something in me that I was hungry to achieve something. I did have it deep down in myself that I wanted to achieve something. So for me, I didn't know what path or what direction to take. So I just jumped out into the working world. I got into recruitment. Not entirely sure whether I enjoyed that too much, but also I worked at Nando's part-time. So that was my first ever job, but kept that job on the side. And it took me a while until I actually realised, even after recruitment and trying to set up my own recruitment company while working at Nando's on the side, and 7 years into working at Nando's, I realised I actually had a passion. I had a passion for meeting new people, just getting to know people and just communicating. Mm-hmm. And hosting and just building memories with people. And that was the moment where I realised, how can I do what I love while still achieving? Yes, I went down the path of setting up a recruitment company, and shortly after realised this isn't for me. I thought at the time where I left my job, I thought I just hated my boss. That's what I had in my head. But it was one of those, I realised, no, it was just I didn't have a passion for what I was doing. And then making that leap into just making sure you enjoy what you're doing, and that was the moment for me where it was like, right, this is for me. And that's where it started to begin, and started to kind of put pen to paper and think, right, I know I want to go into the hospitality space, but figuring out what area within that. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I was younger, I enjoyed hosting. I enjoyed kind of putting on pre-drinks for friends. It was the little things like that. And really my main aim was to create a space. That was the main focus. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to have a space where people, friends, family can kind of come together and build memories. And it was really figuring out what kind of connects with that. And at the time it was desserts was a kind of an up and coming thing. It wasn't really known to anyone that I know around Milton Keynes. We used to go to Birmingham or London while we're there, and we used to see these dessert parlours popping up, and that was where seeing there was a gap within Milton Keynes, that Milton Keynes needed something like that, where a space for kind of teenagers to come together. And really that's where the idea started to evolve, and then we kind of grew it from there, where we introduced kind of cocktails, again fitting into creating a space where people can come have fun. I mean, that was a key part, is having fun together, having a cocktail, whether that be having a dessert. And yeah, that's where the idea started. Obviously not as quick as that, but it took quite a few years in the process.
Yeah. That's amazing, actually. So it was something that initially got started because you kind of, felt that you wanted to do something for yourself. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, then you found a niche which you saw in other places and you wanted to replicate that.
Yeah, definitely. There was definitely a gap. Growing up in Milton Keynes has a huge amount of potential, but it's at the baby stage. It is lacking things to do. Normally at that age, as soon as we've got our driving license, me and my friends, we'd always go out of town. If we were doing anything on a Friday, even sometimes on a Thursday, it would just be jump on the M1, go to Birmingham, and there's so much. It's just got a bit more character to it. Oxford, London, Manchester. There's just so much more character, and Milton Keynes was just lacking that. It was just kind of like those. It's like a franchise city. Yes, they want to draw in the big names to kind of get the ball rolling, but it just lacked that independence, and it was really trying to bring some of that to Milton Keynes was a key aspect of it. Yeah.
So there was all these big corporate entities, the big corporate food,
of course,
people, and then there's you trying to start this off. So when you started it off, you said to me your kind of main motivation was to try and do something different.
Mm.
And you said about desserts being, was it like a very conscious effort, or could it have been any other type of food, or?
Um, Potentially. But I think dessert. It just made sense. It was just one of those. It was like, yes, we had seen it up and coming in other places, but it just fitted in. And when things just align, it's just those moments where it's like, yes, it works. And
Yeah.
for the brand, for what we want to achieve for the brand, it just. I'm not a chef. Like I said at the beginning, it's my main focus was having a space for people. So, and we want to roll this concept out. So a key thing for us is being able to kind of, whether we go down the franchise route or investment and grow the brand, it needs to be simple enough that it can be kind of built and rebuilt in different places. So, and the dessert side of stuff, the way we're kind of working our menu is trying to simplify as much as we can while still keeping that kind of creativity there, that quirkiness, and using obviously good ingredients. And having that, the dessert side of things just fitted in perfectly to be able to do that. I mean, I do enjoy cooking, it's therapeutic to me, but I'm going to hold my hands up, I'm not the best at it. So I feel like, yeah, no, it as soon as that dessert idea came into head, it was like no brainer. It was like, yeah, done and dusted, that's the idea.
Right, got it. Okay. So now you've settled on the idea and you've started to put it into practice and figure it out. What were the stages that you took in order to see it become a reality after you made the decision? And presume, did you do any market research or anything like that, or you just kind of went for it?
I mean, at the time I was 21, 22. So when the idea was starting to evolve. So at that point, I mean, I had no experience. I worked at Nando's as a host, so I never went down the kind of management experience part. So for me, it was just having that idea and just running with it. So it was a lot of learning as I went along.
Right.
I mean, now I see it as a positive, but at the time it took me 3 years to secure my first location. And obviously at the time for me, it was just frustrating because I had an idea. I wanted to put it into place. I thought my menu's done. This is done. I just want to open somewhere. But like I said, Milton Keynes is full of big names. So trying to go to these locations and pitch out your idea and just getting rejected, it's frustrating there and then. But
wow.
But also at the same time, it's allowed me, that 3 year gap allowed me to redevelop the brand and kind of build upon it. So where it was at the beginning, where I thought I was ready, to when we actually opened our first store in 2018, the brand had developed so much more. So now I can look back at that point and think, if I had opened earlier, the brand would not be what it was then. So it's like everyone says, everything happens for a reason. And during my journey, that has just become more and more and more drilled into my head. Every bad experience I think of, or anything I get frustrated with, when I look back at it 6 months later down the line, it's like, oh, actually, that was a blessing. I'm so glad that actually happened, whether it be I learnt from it or whatnot. But going back to the point of Milton Keynes and being rejected, you see all these big names out there, and it's just you're constantly getting rejected. But what I saw of my brand and what I wanted it to be, I just saw nothing out but it being next to those big names.
Right.
So I was very set on it not being on kind of a side street. I believed in my brand enough that I knew what value it was to me, and for me, it was being next to the likes of Nando's, Wagamama's, TGI's. It just made sense that I wanted it there and then. I wasn't going to settle for less.
Yeah, yeah. And well done for that.
I
mean, a lot of people would have probably started off and said, yeah, let's open it up in a small side street or something like that. But to actually have that in the back of your head is like saying, yeah, I'm going to go for it, but I'm going to put my shop front next to the big boys or girls.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well done,
it had
mate.
to be done. That was a key. That was a key kind of driver for location wise. I think we got rejected for MK1. We actually got rejected 6 times, and it was on the 7th attempt that we actually got the yes.
Okay, so talk me through that. You say, here's the idea, here's my pitch, here's my business plan, or presumably all those bits and pieces, and they say no. Why go back a second time?
for that particular location, for me, I think it was a personal attachment to it. So I worked at the Nando's just across the road. So I worked there for about Nando's for 7 years, but at that store for about 3 years. So that was towards the end of it. And I knew the area. It was a good area. It was free parking. You got a cinema there, and it's 5 minutes away from my house. And I worked at the Nando's just there. So for me, it was one of those. It was like that personal feeling of achievement to be able to be working at one of the restaurants and then opening one next door to it. So it was like I just didn't want to give up on it. It was like that personal attachment, just trying to get. Yeah,
that was your perfect location.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 5 minutes away from home, in front of exactly somebody who you used to work for.
Yeah,
and then you're putting it and saying, "This is me."
Yeah, definitely.
Love that, man. That's some swag, people. Yeah. And to be honest, when you're doing this kind of role and you're trying to set up your business, you need to have that about you, that, I suppose, personal resilience. Because you didn't do it once or twice, 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, it's just those conversations, kind of going to the letting agent, and just at each stage we got to, whether we redeveloped the menu or we had some design plans done, it's just repitching to them like, hey, the unit's still there's a unit still there, here's our new design plans, and then just kind of, like I said earlier, it was frustrating. I remember getting the calls back and then being like, oh, unfortunately it's a no, and just that frustration at the time. But yeah, now I look back at it and it's been a blessing. We're there now, so yeah.
Yeah. And would you have done it an 8th time?
Probably yes. I think it's one of those. It's like, if you want something, why let the no kind of stop you? Just
don't give up on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You should never you should never give up on it. Just make sure that you guys watching this, if you do really passionately believe in something, and you like Sanj said, basically you keep going back and you iterate it, and then you never give up. Because I've heard so many stories as well. All the people who've always survived are the ones who kind of go back and readapt what it is that they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think the key thing you just said then was the passion part. I think if I didn't have a passion for what I was doing, I wouldn't have that drive to be like, no, I definitely want to be there. Or you don't continuously push unless you have the passion. I mean, you have those moments where you'd be lying as a business owner to say you haven't had those moments where you thought, oh, it's not working, or it's time to give up. But
so there's a passion and the reason argument there, exactly. Right? Because the passion overrode. The reasonable person would have potentially said after the second or third time, that's it.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah,
let's move on.
There you go. Sometimes one has to win.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So now you've launched, you got your branding okay, you're ready to go in. Tell me, it wouldn't have been like an overnight success. Tell me all the little bits and pieces that maybe people don't realize, that you didn't just magically open up a really successful, establishment. So what were some of the teething troubles that you had?
I mean, we could probably go on for ages with this topic.
But what were the ones that come to your mind that was like, oh my gosh?
To be fair, I wouldn't even say we're at the point of success. I think we're still on that journey to reach our mission. I mean, we're probably 5 years in, and we're still not at that stage where I can sit down and say, oh, we did it. We're still trying to get out there. We still kind of go to events or marketing places, and you mentioned the name Treat Street, and many times you still get, oh, where's that? I mean, we've been there for a few years. It can be a good thing and a bad thing, because it still shows there's still a market to be reached. But I think a big lesson I learned was, so after trying at the likes of Escape, City, the Hub, and MK1, and getting rejected, I think that's where we kind of moved our focus to outside of Milton Keynes. So we opened in Bedford, our first site, on a lovely new riverside development. Opened there 2018, and then after opening, that was the 7th attempt with MK1, where it was like, hey, we've opened our first store, this is what it looks like. come have a visit. Let us know what you think. And it was on that email where it was we got a response to say, oh, it looks incredible. We like what you've done with the place. Let us know when you're ready for your second site. So that was the moment where it was like, shit. What we're literally 3 months into just opening our first store, and that dream location had just been like, if you're interested still, we'll take you. So for me, it was like, right, okay, how are we going to do this? I think that's where it was like, lucky for me, I've got my parents who are big supporters. It took a lot of convincing, but once they saw the vision, once they really did, now they have brought into it. So they've been very, very helpful along the journey, and they supported me to make that jump where we opened Milton Keynes. So we opened Milton Keynes exactly 12 months after. So April 2019. I think that was where things started to get a bit shaky. So we got into Milton Keynes, and obviously a few months later, COVID come along.
Wow.
So we made the leap where I've got no experience in running a restaurant, whether it be as a supervisor, but now
to run two
restaurants actually on a level of owning them and completely running them. So that was the biggest challenge for me, kind of overseeing them both and kind of building that structure. Milton Keynes thankfully really picked up during COVID, kind of the delivery sites, and things started to roll out there. I'd hold my hands up to say I kind of left Bedford on the side. It was trying to manage two, and I neglected it. And for me, that was a big learning curve of the importance of building things up, setting a good foundation, building a hierarchy, and then delegating. Whereas I just kind of spent a couple of days there, mainly in Milton Keynes, kind of neglected Bedford, and then it slowly started to decrease. Obviously, you think the likes of COVID didn't help. But then it got to a point where Bedford, some days we didn't open Bedford, while Milton Keynes was thriving. We've got about 7-8 delivery drivers on a 2-hour delivery wait. We're panicking. We couldn't control it. So there's points where we were short staffed in Bedford at the COVID point, and there's some days where it's closed. So it started to get a negative impact. And for me, that was a very, very expensive lesson to learn, where we ended up closing Bedford. But it's what you take from that. I mean, it hasn't been a complete waste. I've learned so much from it, but it's been a part of the journey, and now I know I can take that kind of knowledge and bring it forward with me. Yeah. So that's been definitely a big challenge and learning curve for me.
Mate, hats off to you, honestly. Like, when you think about it, you went from having no store to two, and then it's just like buses. Two come along at once, and you got to pick one, right? You got to pick one to jump on.
Yeah.
I think, that's incredible. And also, it was very telling a little bit that if you didn't have the Bedford site, you probably wouldn't have had the MK one as well.
That's always been a kind of saying. It's with my parents as well, of kind of trying to find the silver lining. It was definitely a hurtful thing having to kind of close your first store. When I went into that thinking like, oh, I've got everything covered. I'd spent 3 years building the brands. I was very young. I think I was either 23 or 24 when I first opened Bedford. I thought I had everything covered. I thought I had my brand to a T and my menu to a T, and I was like, there's no chance we can fail. I think that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest knockdown, to be like you could have everything, but if the formula doesn't work, it just doesn't work. And
No, I think that's also something else for people to understand as well. It's like perfection is not, what you can do, but actually what the market is looking at when they're trying to buy things from you. You make the best product in the world, but if it's not selling, if the marketing is not right,
if you haven't marketed correctly, there's so much you got to take into consideration. But like you said, the silver lining is that allowed us to get Milton Keynes.
And I really like that bit of the story as well, because if those guys who made the decision to have you in MK1 didn't see that store, open and look good, as good as it did, because all of the previous preparation that you'd made and put into it, then they wouldn't have said, yeah, go for this store here. So yeah, nothing's ever really wasted. It's just recycled some way or shape or form.
You got to find the silver lining in everything. Honestly, you have to. Otherwise, that's when you start to have sleepless nights and you start to stress about it too much. I mean, if you've just got that, go back to your vision, go back to remembering what you got passion in. Yes, you need to learn from those mistakes, but you can't dwell on them too much. You got to, find the silver lining and just kind of move forward from it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you've dropped one store, you've got another one, and it's booming and it's being successful.
Getting there.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it. It's doing phenomenally well. And if you haven't been there, I advise anybody. I don't usually give advice on the podcast, but I'm going to advise you go pay Treat Street a visit. Food there is delicious.
Definitely. MK1, everyone. MK1, free parking.
Free parking. So you've got this and and the formula is working.
Yeah.
Right. How do you keep it going?
Keep on moving. I think for me, the reason why I was confident enough to take that leap is because I saw what others in the industry were lacking. I definitely saw a space where, I mean, they the big names out there, they've done an incredible job to grow to the scale they have, but I felt like there was no innovation, there was nothing unique. And I feel like for me that was a key thing, to be like, oh, we've got something different to offer. So that's why I was confident enough to be like, yeah, we can do this. So remembering that, to be like, right, let's not be in 5 years time and have someone else thinking where we've reached our goal and someone else being like, oh, they're stale, they haven't innovated. So remembering that moment, how I felt kind of 5 years ago, and carrying on, kind of improving. I mean, we, after kind of Bedford, when we moved to Milton Keynes, we introduced the kind of cocktail side of stuff. Luckily our brand was called Treat Street, so it kind of allowed us to diversify slightly but still stay true to who we are. Cocktails still seen as a treat, and now kind of moving forward, we're looking to implement a savory offering. And what I hate is when you see brands and sometimes it's like you see them and they start to bring in so many different things, they start to dilute it. It's like, why are they doing that? So I did want to kind of stay clear of doing stuff like that, but carefully kind of crafting and introducing a select few things that kind of fit into us as a brand that makes sense. We're doing their kind of freshly cut, double fried, chunky chips loaded with loads of toppings. So it's still kind of seen as a treat. It still kind of fits into that, oh yeah, let's go there. It's how do you say it? Forgotten the word now. In moderation, you're going there kind of, you're indulging yourself. You're indulging yourself as a treat. You're meeting friends or family and it's like, right, let's go treat ourselves. Have something savory, have a drink, have dessert after.
When you introduced that fried chicken with bacon and all those bits and pieces, I'm there again.
Soon come. Stay tuned.
So if things are moving forward and so on, and you're trying not to be complacent by innovating, and and that's the other thing as well. Innovation isn't just about like putting in technology, because a lot of people sometimes get hung up on that. Innovation is doing something that just is new. It's something that the current market doesn't serve, and it's something that you're bringing, which basically makes an entirely new space for you to operate in, right? So it's going okay. What kind of what are the next big steps that you'd like to take with the business? And you keep referring to it as a brand, and I love that, because it sounds like you never thought about it as a store, or as just one outlet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even with Milton Keynes is kind of like it's like a lab. Like that's how we see it. We're a baby brand. We're trying all these things because we don't know who we are as a brand yet. We're still figuring those things out. So it's all before we kind of look to kind of grow. We want to make sure we know who we are. Like trying new things. Like we tried the kind of cocktail bar, introducing the kind of savory menu. One thing I'd say is like burger chains. I mean, you saw them kind of pop up kind of 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They popped up everywhere, and now are they anywhere? Like you have the select few, but you've got stores that have brands that have opened kind of 80 sites, and now they've gone back down to kind of 15 sites.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, it's things have their craze, and they boom, and then the craze goes, and then they go into decline. So it's really, for us, it's kind of trying to stay ahead of our competitors, trying to not diversify too much, but have an offering that isn't going to get stale, isn't going to just be there for just jumping on the bandwagon and kind of be there for the hype and then be gone a few years later down the line. So really it's a matter of just trying new things out, playing around with things, figuring out who we are as a brand before we kind of look to grow, before we look to expand. I mean, we're really heavily working on kind of behind the scenes stuff, building a strong foundation, trying to build a Trick Street kind of Bible of how everything's done, process, procedures, that can simplify the process, that can help us along the journey when we do grow things out. So it's a lot of more boring stuff, the stuff that I don't enjoy doing, but I know it's...
If you're talking about like this process now, which probably again is a bit of innovation in there as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. Any business will go through a teething stage where they're starting to expand. But you can't run a brand by people just knowing how to do it one way.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you go and try and set up a new store. And nobody from that store, you can't pick everybody up from that store and put them in a new store and expect it to run perfectly well. You're going to have some defined processes, and the way how you manage that will then allow that to cultivate the other one.
That's going back to the expensive lesson of opening Bedford, then Milton Keynes. It's trying to making sure we have that foundation in place, those kind of instruction manuals to make it a smooth transition when we do go to our next store.
How are you managing and handling that right now then?
A lot of it's, I mean, we're not tech savvy. I mean, for me, as the space that we're in, there is a lot of space for bringing on kind of these tech side of stuff, and that's not my forte. I really want to stay us as a brand where it's that human interaction. But these are the areas where we need to bring tech, and we need to kind of bring that side into the business, the behind the scenes stuff. So it's kind of using the apps, a lot of like Trail. So you've got kind of your manuals for all staff. So it's simplifies the management role of a staff member can just look at their instructions of what needs to be done. You've got your weekly cleans on there, you've got your monthly clean on there, your daily opening checklist to make sure kind of everything's prepared for the day. It honestly, that changed things as a brand, like simplified everything. You come in the morning, it's black and white. Have you got this stocked? Have you got this stocked? Have you got this stocked? And it really simplifies the operational side of things. And I think that's one key kind of app that we've kind of introduced to help us along the way. But that's where we're at, kind of bringing on those different kind of tech side of stuff to smooth things along. So
the technology is enable the processes to work better.
And it just
or to be more defined.
And it keeping things neat in one place, and it improves the operational side of things.
Sounds good. So we've spoken about the business, we've spoken a little bit about the processes and some of the technology aspects as well. What about people? How are you managing that?
That's my weakness. 100%. Hold my hands up. That's how I think for me is I'm great with people. Like I love kind of the hosting side of stuff, but I'm too friendly. I start to make friends with my team, and that's one thing that was a big jump from from Bedford to Milton Keynes. Whereas Bedford, when I first opened, I was like, I'm going to be I'm going to be really close with my staff. Obviously, I was in a similar kind of age bracket, so you can really start to tell you have to kind of have that line between kind of friendship and manager. I feel like that is my biggest kind of challenge I've faced, is managing the people. But that's not my strong area. So
Mhm.
so for me, it's knowing your weaknesses. And I feel there's nothing wrong with being able to bring on people who have that as their experience, have that as their strengths, and you kind of work together on my weakness, their strength. So we've brought
You said it.
yeah.
You said it was a weakness, but
Mm.
is it really? I mean, how you've how many people do you have, and have they stayed with you for a while?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, I mean, I've got people there now that have been there since they were 15 and they're now 19. So I can 3 or 4 staff members that literally joined when they
Yeah.
were very young. Some of the managers still there. But you that's also where you start to feel like being an owner can be a lonely game. It's like you're building all these relationships with people, and they are their main character, and they have to kind of move on. They have to take those steps that are better for themselves. I mean, we've had people where we've had managers come in, be with us for a couple of years, helped us grow the brand, helped us with the put in procedures, but they've been given amazing opportunities. It was wonderful to have them, but they also need to blossom. So it's that kind of I mean, you want them to stay. I mean, it's incredible. It would be amazing if they could stay forever, but I think it is a tough thing to deal with when people do leave, and they've done an incredible job for you. That's where it starts to feel like a lonely game. You've got people constantly coming and kind of going, but yeah, no, definitely trying to keep people.
Did that change you in any way? Because just to tease that out a little bit, did it make you feel a little bit more detached from from caring about the business?
No, I wouldn't say from caring about the business. It was one of those learning curves to be a bit more open and understanding, to know kind of people are going to come and go, and just understanding that that's the kind of the business side of it. And when you own a business, you're going to have those people that kind of help you for X amount of time. You're going to have those that stay with you for a lot longer, maybe for the whole process. But it's learning that's a part of the business. But obviously doing everything in your power to make sure that it's a good environment for them. There's progression for them. Yeah, I mean, apart from that, there's not much else you can do apart from guide them into other positions. Yeah.
Sure. So with your company, in terms of like growth for people within it, have you got those kind of things set up? Have you got like progression routes and so on?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean that side of kind of managing people was never my strength. I had an amazing lady come in from Disney and Bills. I mean, she had a huge amount of experience in kind of people managing, and her passion was developing people, and I learned so much from her. And that was, she had a passion in that, so that's why she was so good at it, is because she enjoyed that kind of working with people, giving them kind of targets and kind of developing them and watching them grow. And for me, when you actually see that is such a rewarding thing, where we still see it now, where you've got those people that join you at 15 and you see them now. We've got one girl who again joined us, and now she's gone off to uni. She's working part-time still. She's just become a supervisor. So seeing them along that journey is so rewarding, how they've come out of their shell. Because when they join you at that age, especially during COVID, where everyone's been locked indoors, so you definitely, we've seen a difference in kind of that young age group, where during that period of kind of 16 to 18, that for them is that experience inside, where they're going out and they're learning about themselves. But where they've been locked away for 2 years, we've definitely seen that they're a lot more quiet, a lot more shy. So it's really rewarding when you're bringing them on board and they get a bit of confidence, speaking to people and watching them kind of come out of their shell and walking around the restaurant, and just that confidence in their body language and everything.
Yeah.
It's the little things that can be so rewarding and make you want to kind of carry on and push, really. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really like that, what you said there, because that's That's definitely something that resonates with me as well.
Yeah.
When you see people and they come on board and they're like, fresh,
Yeah.
very, very fresh. And yeah. And then all of a sudden, you apply a bit of pressure and then they become pliant. And then afterwards you shape it and then you put them in near that furnace, and then afterwards that furnace just bakes them and they start to get, they start to turn in something that's really, really
I had
outstanding.
I had that when I was at Nando's. I think Nando's for me, it really changed me, although it was just a part-time job, but I feel like that changed me as a person, kind of being on the door, kind of speaking to every guest, sitting them down. It gave me the confidence. It completely, from the age of 16 when I joined there, I changed as a person. And you can learn so much from school, uni, but there's so many other things, skills that are going to help you in life. And I feel like the benefit that I got from just that part-time job is priceless.
Yeah.
So seeing those similar kind of things within my staff where they've built that confidence, it might not help them the same way it helped me, but being able to see that growth in people is rewarding.
Yeah. No, again, I do like that as well, because I had something similar-ish when I was younger, and I worked in an old English restaurant, and the guy used to get me to wash his car, basically.
Well, you worked in a restaurant, so you're washing his car.
Yeah, and he used to get me to yeah, and then afterwards, I'd end up kind of like doing everything, any and everything, just doing prep for starters and whatnot in the back end, getting plates thrown at you by the chefs and stuff like that. But it did teach me a lot about customer service. I learned a little bit about food as well, but definitely handling crazy people in the back room, right, trying to get food out, shouting at you, then changing your face instantly as you pick up a really burning hot plate, taking out and being all smiley with people and trying to hold conversations. It makes you it develops you into something. So I understood at that point that in order to keep something going, you need good customer service. And sometimes people just don't come for the food.
Definitely.
All right. They come for how you make them feel when they walk into the restaurant, and then they greet a friendly face, and then that person takes the time to sit them down. Maybe these are some of the things that you inadvertently picked up while you were at Nando's
100%.
as well.
Like I said, for me, the first thing was building a space. When you go out to eat, I feel like the first part of that journey is you're messaging a friend like, shall we meet up, or a family like, oh, let's go do something. And then it's the second part of that is normally, right, what should we do? And then it's the food comes after. So really and truly, your main aim when you're meeting up is you just want to kind of catch up with friends or family, and then it's just the food kind of comes after. So for me, it's one of the, probably maybe even more important, is that kind of environment, building that environment. And then it just so happens that we also sell incredible desserts while you're there. But they definitely do. We want to kind of make sure we're focusing on top of the service side of stuff just as much as the kind of the desserts, really.
I remember one thing was when I was probably about 15, 16 at the time. And when the chef would come out, as soon as he came out, he used to shout at us to kind of like say, just make sure you're going and ask the customer, are they okay, that kind of thing. But also, the other thing was that we always used to go and make sure that we filled the water up, and we did a bit of silver service as well. But that always allowed us to get better tips.
Okay, yeah.
And
the service,
I remember like one time getting about, it was either 30 or 40 quid. And this is back in the day, right?
You're not that old. Back in the day.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about it, like that's more than the price probably even of the meal I think that the person had bought. So for me, it was just a case of that's like my little inner sense of validation, I guess.
I'm doing a good job.
I'm doing a good job, And he made me put it in the tip jar, so So note to self, right? But coming back to treating people well,
Mm.
right? How how are you treating your people well now?
So for me, the part where the passion definitely grew was enjoying the job at Nando's. I mean, I wouldn't have had a passion for it if I hated what I did, but just enjoyed the part of kind of, yeah, speaking to people. But if I didn't enjoy the environment there, the passion wouldn't have grown. So it's building an environment where a key thing is I don't want staff to kind of look at the rotor and be thinking, oh, I've got to go to work. I get it. At the end of the day, it's not the first thing like, oh, I want to go to work today, but doing as much as we can where we're building that environment in place where it's like they're going to look at the rotor and they're going to be like, oh, lovely. Like, I mean, they're slightly excited to go to work. Like, yeah, I'm going to go have a catch up with my colleagues, or it's going to be a good shift. I'm going to have fun on shift.
Do you put people who are friends together and stuff? Or is that something conscious you might do? Or
yeah, I mean, when doing the rotor, I mean, I don't do the rotor at the moment, but definitely when doing the rotor, sometimes you maybe have to separate them a little bit. But
yeah,
as long as everyone as a whole kind of gets along, and building that environment of having that boost in morale kind of within the store, getting them feeling confident, kind of shouting without the restaurant. Sometimes it's a matter of someone's making a smoothie or they're grabbing fruit from the back, chucking it across the restaurant.
yeah,
Just making sure they're kind of having fun while they're there.
yeah,
And they're going to go home feeling like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of days where that's not the case. You have those shifts where I think that's for wherever you work, you're going to have those days where it's a bit of a nightmare or it hasn't gone to plan. You've been a staff member down and it's been really busy. Those days are the days where it's going to be, oh, right, yeah, it was a tough day at work. But trying to make sure that environment is a good enough environment where they can be like, be a bit excited to kind of come to work. Yeah.
yeah. So managing the peaks and the troughs, basically.
Yeah. Kind of team building exercises, competitions within the team are always a good one.
Oh, really? What kind of things have you done?
Kind of fastest to make a Sunday. I mean, it's a two-way thing. It's like they're competing, like, yeah, I want to win this, and I'm there, like, right, they're getting faster at making Sundays. So it's like, what, you did that in 50 seconds? Yeah, that's what I want next time as well.
Yeah, there you go. So that's smart, actually.
Yeah, catch-22. But again, it's kind of. And getting them involved as well. I mean, the good thing with us is we're a small independent, and it has negatives, but it has so many positives as well. It's one of those being that they're there and they're involved. We've had so many things on the menu that have been put on the menu by staff members. So where staff members had an idea like, oh, why don't we do this? And it's been like, actually, why don't we?
Yeah.
It's an incredible idea.
Yeah.
And then them getting to see that on the menu next time and being able to go home like, yeah, I put that on the menu. That's my idea. And that involvement, that part of involvement where you've got a new starter or a trial shift, kind of pairing them up with some of the staff members. Yes, over kind of seeing how they're getting on, but if you trust that kind of staff member and then just kind of having a sit down with that team member and being like, how were they? What's your opinion? Do you feel like they would work? Do you feel like they'd fit into the group?
Yeah.
Asking them for their opinion, giving that feel of appreciation to them and giving them that responsibility. They really buy into, oh, like, yeah, I'm running this place as well. Like I do have that involvement.
Yeah.
And they want to work a bit harder when they have that sense of involvement.
Yeah. Because it is their work at the end of the day, right? It's
yeah. I guess they get to see as well. It's not a huge head office. They're obviously seeing like, oh, they're working with the owner. It's like it's not a huge corporate company where it's like, yeah, it's just some guy sitting away in Hawaii chilling. We're just working our asses off.
Yeah. No, that happens, but that also even happens with small companies as well. Okay. So we've talked about business, we talked about process, technology, people, and we've covered to some extent some of the innovations that you're doing. Right. What about you then? What are the things that you like to do to, I guess, when you're not working?
Relax, put my feet up.
What's Netflix. A relaxed day for Sanj?
hit and miss, really. Sometimes you just like kind of your own company. You just want to sit in your bedroom and just chuck some Netflix on. That's nice at times.
Do you like just sitting on your own watching something?
Sometimes I do, but for me, if I've got some time off, I want to go out and do stuff. Like I want to go and meet up with friends. I wouldn't say I'm adventurous, but I like kind of going out and doing stuff. I mean, it matches what I'm doing within business, so it makes sense that I'm like that. But obviously, you do get those days where sometimes you just want to switch off and relax. But yeah, I'm not the go on holiday all inclusives. I tried that once. It was nice, but after a few days in, just being in one place, I was like, no, like I want to get out and do something.
Yeah, were you ready to tear your hair out? Because it was like,
But then being away does give you that. You realize the importance of taking time off. I mean, there was such a long period where it was just working yourself flat out, kind of open to close. And then when you take that a week off or so, you go away and you come back feeling so much more refreshed, and you have that kind of detachment when you've got a kid and it's like, oh, you haven't seen them in a week. You kind of want to go back and kind of get back to work type feeling. And that's a reminder of, I do have a passion in what I do, because you want to get back to it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, I've taken quite a bit of time off and I'm starting to kind of twiggling my fingers like, all right, what am I doing? And wanted to kind of get back, and obviously we're working on the savoury side of stuff, so I've got that to kind of keep me busy. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So Netflix, but no all-inclusive holidays.
Yes, definitely. Occasionally Netflix. I love movies. I'm a big movie person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was the last movie that you watched which was like, oh, yeah.
Right, you can cut this part out, but it was Barbie.
Did you hate it or did you like it?
No, I loved it. No, I wouldn't say I loved it. I mean, I like the messages in there. I'm not going to lie either. It wasn't me being forced. I chose to go.
Oh, really?
I'm going to put that out there, everyone. I chose to go. Yeah, no, I didn't care. I mean, it was FOMO. Everyone's talking about it. You see all these big things while I'm doing marketing for the restaurant. It's getting Barbie involved and trying to kind of.
Did you ever do a Barbie dessert or something?
Well, we've got a lot of things with like strawberry. I mean, those are the best kind of like bright red, kind of pinkish kind of colours. But just doing that whole kind of jumping on the Oppenheimer Barbie kind of debate, where we've got kind of two desserts. It's like, which one's Barbie, which one's Oppenheimer? It's like,
oh, really?
Yeah. So it was one of those. It's like everyone's talking about it. So it's like, yeah, I've got to go see it. I love movies. I mean, I don't care if it's Barbie or what. I just want to see the work that's being put up to it and into the movie and the kind of storyline behind it. And no, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. No, I do like that idea actually about like taking something that's trending and something that you actually enjoy as well doing.
It's the marketing that they've done. I mean, that alone, you just have to kind of give it the time of day. I mean, what do they reach? Like 800 million in the first week or something crazy like that.
Yeah. I get the feeling that you're not just like a retail food guy, but your skill set could kind of apply to any type of business where a brand needs to be developed, right?
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that because you're talking about like the Barbie stuff as well, but it wasn't specifically just.
I feel like a business talk coming on later. Should we meet up?
We probably should. There's plenty of things that always keep spinning in the back of my head. But also, we're saying this, but how do you stop yourself from being a magpie and trying almost too many different things and just going bouncing from something to something else?
I'm still learning that. To be fair, I feel like for me, learning who I am as a person, just accepting it. I am that type of person where it's like I'm going to have 1,000 ideas and I'm going to want to start 1,000 different things and just kind of work on them. I feel like for me, it's how I will grow is starting things off and being able to kind of get a team involved and letting them kind of take it across and them working on it. I feel like with me, I enjoy the kind of creative side, the marketing side. And yes, I'll have my parents kind of nagging at the corner of my ear, like, why have you started that and you haven't finished that? You want to do this, you want to do that. But yes, there are negatives in it. But I mean, I find that's my strength. So it's like, but I need to learn how to be able to kind of delegate the other sides of stuff and bringing in the characters where they've got where their strengths are my weakness, and being able to kind of work together on giving an idea or developing an idea, and having people that can kind of take that to the next step.
So like collaborating and delegation as well.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a key. I'm still learning. I mean, I haven't figured it out, so I don't have an answer for you yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's part of the
you
process.
know much more than most people because you've got a successful business and it's running, it's survived, right? Which is the fundamentals of making sure that you're doing something that works.
Yeah.
Right. So otherwise it wouldn't have been here at this point. So thank you very much, Sanj, for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
We really, really appreciated you spending time with us. And I want to personally say that because that time is the most important thing that we all have. And choosing to spend it with us is
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same thing next week.
Same thing next week. So if you're coming back, if you're looking at this podcast right now, please check out Treat Street. All of the details about Sanj and Treat Street are listed below in the description area. And come and join us next time for another podcast. Thank you. Bye.